Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast.
And I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
This is our reaction and review for Only Murders in the Building, Season 5, Episode 5. Who else is very happy? We just got to spend a good bit of time in this episode right in the Arconia.
Absolutely. And we got to meet some new characters like Miller, the garbage guy, Jose. And we got to see Ursula too, back with her gut milk, except now it's available in pellets. But it was really cool to see some of the support staff around the building. Of course, we've already met Randall, but tinfoil hat real early.
All right.
It is really starting to feel like it is somebody that is part of the support staff, because it does not, I know we get this big cliffhanger with the two wives, and we will get into this of what crime I think they've committed, but it's not the murder. The three billionaires, I don't think that it's them, but I do think that there's someone on the support staff that has maybe been paid off to like have Nicky in the freezer. Lester walked in, found out who was doing it, got, like, it feels like somebody else in the building, one of the support staff is it, because we've met a whole bunch of new people, the mayor, all these people, but it just doesn't all fit right. The mayor, yeah, he's still suspicious, but this episode, I'm just feeling like less and less and less.
Okay, here's the thing. I think it was after episode 3 I came on here and I was just like, there's not enough suspects this season. And now I feel like the suspect cup is just running all over the place, because it's like, okay, we have all the support staff that we had in this episode. We have still Sophia out there. We have Lester's wife. You mentioned the cliffhanger. We've got
the billionaires, the mayor,
all of the sons. It just feels like there are so many different people we can point to. Like, maybe it is as a spot where we're a little bit too overwhelmed by all of this, but we're going to do our best in this video to parse through a lot of the nonsense, talk about motives, talk about the demise of Lester the robot. Another Paul Rudd related character kicks the bucket on this show.
So funny.
Okay, well, before we dive into any of it here, though, be sure to hit that subscribe button, because we are here with all things Only Murders in the Building. We have reviews, previews, theories, so much good stuff coming your guys' way every single week.
Absolutely. And also, we are covering Gen V here. We have It, Welcome to Derry, which is going to be coming up on HBO very, very soon. There is lots coming up here at the channel. So hit that subscribe button, help support us here at the channel. And if you want more Only Murders in the Building coverage, you can head over to our Patreon. We have chat, we have polls, we have all kinds of discussion going on over there. So thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. We very much appreciate that.
Okay, let's talk straight up about this cliffhanger.
Okay.
Is it the wives? Because it's always the spouse is what it seems like. But this is only episode 5. So who out there feels like they are the murderers? Oh, okay.
I don't. It's for basically the reason you just said. It's always the spouse. So
it is.
Just feel like if you're John Hoffman, the writers, you know that you don't want to just fall into that trope all over again. And we have seen this show enough to know, are they really going to have it be that we learn who the killers are in an episode 5 cliffhanger, and it's just sort of like, all right, we know who did it, and then we just come back to them every single week? I just don't see it.
Okay, my tinfoil hat. I think that the wives have committed a crime, and the crime is that they're stealing money from their husbands. I think, Lester's been getting envelopes. He's probably been putting it wherever. She's probably been siphoning some of that off. Sophia, the same thing, siphoning it off. And I think the two wives got together and opened up some account where they were putting all that money in. And now that their husbands are dead, they're like, oh no, we have this account where we've been stealing money from our husbands. This isn't going to look good, because now that this there was this account and they can't figure out who it's tied to. And we all know that it's tied to them, and all this money was going in and now all this money's come out. I think that that's the crime that they have committed, but they haven't actually murdered their husbands.
Yeah, let's get a little more into Tommy the Tongue here for a moment, which is just
it's like a corporation or whatever.
Yeah, great deflection name, by the way, ladies. But I do think that what you're saying, there's a lot of credibility here to this, because we know we know already Sophia has not been in a happy marriage. Like, she has made that
No.
clear. It has also been made clear, albeit in very, very funny ways, that somehow she's got to have enough money to constantly cater to her son's bizarre dietary and or Fortnite habits. And in order
Mhm.
to do this, you need a lot of cash. And we don't know how flush she would be otherwise. Like, it makes a lot of sense that, okay, it feels like the old New York mob business is running a little bit dry. So if that is really the case, you're probably holding on to your money as much as you possibly can. And if
Mhm.
she feels like this is the best way to do it, then so be it. We don't know enough about Lester's widow at this point to really understand a lot of her motives, but it might be holding on to things for a rainy day. It might be that she has her own skeletons in a closet somewhere.
Yeah, I'm feeling like Lester's wife is probably trying to find a way to put it away. So
Mhm.
maybe, for a rainy day, something like that. I was wondering if Sophia was putting it away because she was getting ready to maybe have a divorce and putting it under this Tommy the Tongue so that if she does separate and she does divorce, that this money doesn't get found and doesn't get taken. But now that both of these husbands are dead, I just think the wives are panicking and they're like, this is just going to look bad
Yes.
because it is bad, but it's not murder.
Yeah, and speaking of the writers wanting to stay away from repeating patterns, I don't think they're gonna want to repeat that Charles' love interest is a murderer pattern again. It's like we already have Jan, we don't need it with Sophia, and I think it is more interesting that it's like you said, they're panicking, they're worried about what perception is gonna be, and what happens when you panic. Sometimes you get a little bit reckless, and I kind of expect there to be a lot of recklessness with these two at least in the next episode, if not even beyond that.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been a tremendous amount of women killers on this show. Like, I
Yes.
know that we had Cliff, but it was also like together with a woman with Donna and then everything with Marshall. Like, there just isn't that many male killers on this show. So for me, it just kind of feels like they're maybe going to want to go in that direction. They're not going to be like, it's more women killers and now it's two women. It's just like, okay, I get it.
No.
Women that kill every season.
I feel like we're going to get more in the line of motive in episode 6 and beyond.
Mhm.
And then we'll have the traditional killer reveal, which is probably going to be episode 9. And where I'm sort of sitting with everything right now is no matter who you're looking at, whether it's a member of high society, support staff, anybody else, we just pay attention to the people we're seeing on screen because it's probably a situation at this point. We're like halfway through the season, right? I feel like we've probably seen the killer, but they probably are not dominating in terms of screen time.
Yeah, and that's why we have to look at the support staff. This is the first time that we've ever seen Miller. We've seen Ursula before, of course, but
Yes.
she's always been kind of a background character that lots of us have felt like she could easily kill somebody.
Yes.
So, and she had a much more prominent role in this where she was very shady about things. And then, of course, some people out there are thinking maybe Randall, but it really, like we said, it's starting to feel like it's not the two wives, it's not the billionaires. They've had a lot of really prominent screen time. Maybe the mayor, but I mean, he's starting to get more screen time as well. Maybe the mayor. But now we've met people like Miller, and I feel like him having this much information on people because he has gone through people's garbage, even to the point that he's like, oh yeah, all this garbage from the night Lester died and stuff that you want to know about Lester, I've kept all that garbage. It's like, well, why are you keeping specifically that garbage? Is it because you know something, you killed him? Like, why specifically would you even keep that? It's been like however long now, days, weeks, whatever, that why are you keeping this very specific garbage? So to me, it feels like he's a real suspect, especially with, as funny as it was, ha ha ha, he's thrown the robot off the roof. He's thrown the robot off the roof.
I think there's a lot of different possible motives if we just want to stay focused on Miller for a moment here as to why he would do something like this.
Yes.
I think, yeah, the throwing the robot off the roof, it could be emblematic of what this show is trying to tell us about income inequality in class
Right.
this season.
Yep.
This idea that all of these people in the Arconia are falling more on hard times because the billionaire class, the wealthy, they're constantly finding ways to squeeze away their income. Randall is worried about being overtaken by
Mhm.
a robot. Perhaps Ursula is starting to
Yep.
realize more and more that she is swimming in a gut milk pyramid scheme. It just feels like they are all falling more and more on hard times because they're being taken advantage of. And
Mhm.
you could sort of envision this idea that Miller, the new garbage person with still a very mysterious past here, may be feeling like they were taken asunder by somebody and they're using all of this garbage to collect information. And it's like they could have easily figured out what was going on with Nicky or Lester and tried to fight back in a way to sort of break into a new economic threshold, and they got taken out because of it.
Yeah, I am really starting to feel like because of the whole Nikki refrigeration thing, that maybe one of the support, maybe a different support staff person had that person stashed away, was being paid to have Nikki stashed away in the freezer at the Arconia, and Lester found out about it, and that's why he ended up getting got. That he was like, okay, I need to tell somebody that this has happened, that this is going on here, and whoever it is, if it's Miller, Ursula, Randall, whoever there who's already worried about losing their job, got this little extra money to put him aside and not let anybody in there, but oh, here comes Lester, and Lester's like, you know what, not on my watch this time. I am going to tell somebody, because it did feel very much like this was not prepared, and that's why we saw the elevator crank get picked up with a poop bag.
Yeah.
That it was, it was a spur of the moment thing, like, oh no, Lester has seen too much, he's on his way to tell somebody to be the hero, and that is a problem.
Okay. I've got a couple more crazy ideas related to Miller Garbage Man
Let's
here.
go, Miller.
Okay. Another possible motive here. What if, kind of like the widows, Miller is guilty of something? But let's just pretend like at first he wasn't guilty of murder, that this is sort of like a very smelly version of John Hamm from Your Friends and Neighbors, where he has actually been collecting like valuable things from people's garbage and then just sort of selling them, finding a way to make some extra money. Once again, kind of sticking with this income inequality theme.
He might be selling them to Howard. I mean, Howard's been feeding gossip into this robot.
Yeah, and that's a definite possibility. He's selling whether it's information or objects, and then ultimately he learns a little bit too much, and then he gets found out, and it's kind of the classic case of, okay, he wasn't committing this crime, but maybe he has to commit this crime. But okay, since you did mention the poop bag here, we do have to address the poop bag in the room here, that
Yes.
it is an actual garbage bag that is being used to pick up the elevator crank.
Absolutely, because that's the thing that also really connects it for me for Miller, is somebody who is in charge of the garbage of this building, that wants to keep the building clean. This is his job, is to make sure that things are not left around the courtyard, left around the building, that yes, this could be, something that's a clue, murder weapon, whatever it is, that he is going to make sure that the courtyard is clean.
Okay, here's another possibly crazy slash not that crazy idea here, because we saw Ursula a good bit in this episode, and as you
Yes.
sort of laid out, like she's clearly going through it. She's not
Yep.
being altogether willing to share a lot of information that is in her head.
Man, her closing that little gate with no solicitation on the bottom, I laughed so hard. This season has been the funniest season, like hands down for me.
Everything with this episode, there was so much. Ursula doing that, the sons yelling, "I tried salad" at one point at the restaurant.
Sons.
There is so much comedy, but okay. Not to spoil a season that has been out for like a year and a half now, but
Yeah.
True Detective Night Country, my favorite show of last year, we ended up getting to this point where the end of the season reveals that it's not really just one person who's responsible for the central murders. It's a whole group of people. Like, is there the faintest chance that a lot of the support staff are all kind of in on this together, and that's why Ursula's being as protective as she is, and maybe all of them have kind of agreed in cahoots to keep the trio away from them?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is, we've seen sort of the the mob old money fighting the billionaires the new money, and
Yeah.
now we're seeing the support staff that's getting replaced by robots. That's like, okay, this now we don't have any jobs anywhere if this is all going to be what's happening. Even when you've got Miller throwing the robot over the building, Howard's just like, oh cool, the next one's already on order, it doesn't matter anyways, like you can't stop it, it's just going to keep on happening, and basically you're all going to be replaced. So for them together, like, yeah, we saw Oliver try to be like, oh, let's all have a big meeting and try to
Mhm.
support our support staff. Clearly, the support staff has already been trying to figure something out where they have, die, Lester, die, and it's about the robot. And it's not actually about taking out another support member, but that maybe, again, Lester was like, I'm not down for this cause. Like, I've already had 4 murders in this building, and I'm
Yes.
not having any more murders in the building. We're done with the murders in the building. They happened on my watch. I'm not going to allow anything else to happen. And the rest of the support staff is like, you know what? This needs to happen to keep our jobs. I mean, the support staff is really blaming the trio for a lot of this, to
Yeah.
be like, you have brought too much attention to this building with this podcast. People are moving out. We're being replaced. All these murders are happening. This is because of you guys.
Okay, there's a few other questions I have related to all of them, and there's just some things that are strange. You brought up the die Lester die message.
Mhm.
Is that okay? I want to know, do you buy this explanation? Does everybody out there buy this explanation that it's just about the robot? Because it might very well be. I was just trying to think about all the times that I have been frustrated or held grudges against either real or automated objects, and it's really extreme.
Okay, the clue that makes me feel like it's actually about Lester the doorman
Mm-hmm.
is that it was spelled with an ER and not just an R, which is how the actual robot Lester is spelled. It's possible that Randall the doorman was just like, just whatever, I'm not paying attention. I didn't pay attention to what his name is. All that's possible, sure. But for me, I mean, that's a clue. Like, why is that extra E in there if you're talking about the robot? If you were this mad at this robot, you would know.
A very, very good point that I did not even think of. Okay, so another weird thing here is that nobody's really talking about Jose the Super all that much yet.
Yep.
We've barely seen him, but I'm
Yep.
just sitting back now and I'm like, this is someone who has easy access to everyone's apartments at pretty much all the time. It seems
Yes.
like if everybody in the support staff is in on something, to just make it so that, oops, this valuable necklace was accidentally dropped in the trash, and then you have Miller going and taking that. And if this is all a money earning enterprise, it feels
Mhm.
like there's a lot of just easy ways for all of them to be kind of connected to each other.
Absolutely.
All right, finally with the support staff, and this relates to what you said about Howard and the robot. Who's funding these robots to where another one can be ordered? I can't imagine. I know things are becoming cheaper in the tech world, but I would still think that a robot like this, I don't know, tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I don't know who is funding these robots and who is having Howard do this, because, this first robot, apparently Howard has like put all of Lester's information in there. Does that information even exist anymore for robot number 2 coming in? Is this robot going to be helpful anymore because the robot that had the information is now gone? Howard really, this storyline is very weird with Howard because Howard is not really support staff in the building. He's living in the building, right? Like, why is he doing this? And more so, why is it that they're allowing him to do this? Is it just he's like, oh, well, I'm in the building, I can do whatever I want? Why is he in charge of replacing the staff with a robot and getting everyone's information? It can't just be for ha-has.
Oh, I don't
Can
think.
it?
Okay, there's two different schools of thought here. Neither one of them in my brain is that it's for ha-has. I think it's either number one, we're looking at somebody who is very bored and very nosy and just wants to be involved in everyone's business.
Absolutely.
The other one goes back to the long-running and much discussed idea here that Howard is the secret big bad who has been sort of dropping clues and hints
Yeah.
and watching the trio from the very beginning.
Right.
I think both of those at this point, they are still valid. But when it comes to the idea that, okay, all of this information that was perhaps on this robot that was destroyed, if that is lost, I mean, we can wonder, okay, Could it be on robot number 2? Is robot number 2 also voiced by Paul Rudd? But beyond all of that, there is this idea of, okay, even though this robot was dropped from several stories, I'm sure they have internal memory. You can try to pull that out, examine it. Do you bring it to Detective Williams? Will she know someone who can decode this? Or tinfoil hat here,
Mm-hmm.
Christoph Waltz, Mr. Bashir. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to just really clear your name and not want everybody talking about you or trying to work around it on the podcast, why don't you just be like, I will bring this to someone because you're a tech expert and you can ultimately prove your innocence.
Absolutely.
Do I think that's going to happen? Probably
No.
not.
Okay, let's talk about Oliver having an offer on his apartment
Mhm.
that he threw out, but then has asked back. There's been, a little bit of this going on here. Obviously, his wife is out of town a lot. She's working. That's all fine or whatever. But his apartment is still his apartment. It hasn't really come together as their place and their apartment. There has been a little bit of that with Camilla this season, oh, there's this and that, and let's redo this, whatever. Is Oliver really looking to leave at this point? It kind of broke my heart a little bit that Mabel's like, man, I just got an apartment here. Like, I'm here because of you guys. You guys are, my olds, my besties. Like, why would you then just leave?
I hope they dive a little bit more into what's going on in Oliver's head because some of this to me feels just a little bit too sudden for my liking. I mean, if we're
He's
going
tried to get into this apartment for years.
Yeah.
Like, it's very strange that he would all of a sudden be like, you know what, I'm going to let it go.
I'm trying to dig into what's happening in his head, and I wonder if a part of it is tied to this idea of, okay, yeah, I might want to have a place that's mine and Loretta's, as you're sort of discussing,
Mhm.
but then I think beyond that, it's maybe Oliver's had a lot of high highs in this building, but I think he's also had some low lows. We've seen a lot of his theater career fall apart. We saw
Yeah.
everything with him and Teddy Demas. Like, there might be an opportunity here for a fresh start for him, and I'm sure he's actively thinking a little bit about this, especially since we kind of realized more at the end of this episode that, yeah, he's from New York City, but not exactly this same part of New York City. So he might be thinking a little bit about this, but if you're Mabel and if you're Charles, I think there is this idea of, okay, if Oliver leaves the building, are we all going to be friends anymore? It's sort of like once you get out of high school, even if you're going to different colleges, they're just like 10 miles apart, you're going to be wondering, was the only thing keeping us together high school? Is everything different now?
It's very interesting when you move away to see who ends up still chatting with you. I remember when I moved out to California from Toronto, I was wondering that too. I was like, oh, friends that I've had forever, are we going to continue to chat? What's going to sort of happen here? And some friends that I was friends with forever, that kind of fell off. And other friends that I talked to a little less, all of a sudden I was talking to them every single day. Like, you never know, right? So I'm
No.
sure that Mabel is going to be worried about that. They've got a podcast together. Of course, he can podcast from somewhere else with them, but maybe Oliver's just at the point where his wife is working out of town all the time. Why does he need to stay at this apartment? He can get the money for it and travel with his wife.
Yeah, he's got other possible ventures out there. And I think a lot of this season right now is about change because we've had people who have lived this life. I know Mabel has a new apartment, but she's still around the Arconia. They've been doing this podcast for a while. Like, they've all achieved things. And that's why so much of this season seems to be about these characters wondering, how can we evolve? But this is where I put my hard hat on a little bit.
Oh,
I don't really like the testosterone story that much. I'm sorry. I
And-
just not.
I don't like it either. I do like the story of Charles trying to find himself,
Yes.
and what was going on with Sophia and all that kind of ridiculous flirting. And of course, her boys are really funny and all that. But I just I'm not really into the story of him doing this trial testosterone and what's going on with it. It's not funny enough, and it's
Mhm.
not adding to, I guess, the more serious story of him trying to figure out what he wants for himself, because this is now the second season this has been going on for him without enough movement on it.
Yeah, I'm only going to retroactively appreciate this story more if somehow, while in these treatments, you actually uncover something important, because otherwise, it feels a little bit like wasted time. And beyond all that, I know it kind of served the, oh, he lost his phone, but there are other ways that could have made it happen. And it just feels like we all know that Steve Martin is a phenomenal physical comedian. He's been
Yes.
this way for decades, but it's sort of like they did with the casket at the start of this season. They're constantly finding ways to implement this. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. For me, Steve and Marty and just their back and forth chemistry, like their natural comedy is what I appreciate the most.
Yeah, he didn't need to be on this trial for what happened to happen. It could have been Sophia seduces him and gets him into the car, gets the phone,
Yes.
and it moves along. Like, I don't need it that Charles is out there, being a seducer. It's funny sort of, but it's I don't know. It's not working. And hopefully they're just going to kind of drop that. But you know what is funny? Detective Williams, welcome back.
I love Divine Joy Randolph so
She's
much.
so funny.
She's so funny, and I'm glad she showed up right away in this episode because it did answer a big question for me, which was just like, okay, well, why are you not guys not bringing her in sooner? Like, she's
Yep.
literally the only person in law enforcement that you trust.
Yep.
She's also the only person that kind of trusts you, and through that, we learned that somebody in the Velvet Room is cleaning up their act.
Absolutely. Somebody there has fixed the tables, cleaning things up. Oliver found his shrimp tail there, so some of it got missed, but
Yep.
it's kind of like there are clues that are actually connecting the support staff to what's going on. Somebody had to have cleaned that place up. Now, does it mean that it's actually the support staff of the Arconia? No, the billionaires are down there. They could have brought in their own cleanup crew, or the mayor, their own cleanup crew. That could have happened, but I don't think that that's what's happened.
I think the question I'm left with right now, and this is the most important one in my brain, is who all has access to just opening up the Velvet Room, like actually being able to get in there at this point?
That's kind of where a bit of this problem is coming in, because whoever is actually letting people in now is probably got some sort of motive, because it was Nicky and Lester, and
Yeah.
they're both gone. So if Lester's not swinging the door anymore, and Nicky, who has the cards, is not there anymore, who's letting the people in to come and like clean up the Velvet Room or fix the tables or any of this stuff? How are they getting in, and who's letting them in?
Tinfoil hat time.
Okay.
Time to do a little bit of theory crafting here when it comes to the mayor, because he's still very high on my suspect list.
He's still there.
But I'm kind of juggling with this idea. We've seen the mayor's assistant now a couple of times. I believe her name is Romy. And so I'm kind of sitting back and I'm wondering, what if this assistant found out that the mayor has been in this Velvet Room, has been wasting a lot of money for a possible campaign here. He's been in some very shady dealings. And she decides, okay, I'm going to find a way to put a stop to all of this. So I'm going to be sort of the one who orchestrates these hits and takes people out and works with the staff of the Arconia, gives them money to keep everything quiet to sort of make this happen. I think there's got to be a reason why we've seen the mayor and the mayor's assistant for more than one episode now. There really wasn't that much of a reason for them to be in this episode this time around.
For sure. And we've seen it in the comments. There's been a few of you talking about the assistant as well. For me, hard hat for the assistant. I do not want it to be the assistant. We've already seen Poppy and all these other like assistants or people that are further down on the hierarchy, like the writer. Like, it's always been people that are helping out or lower down in production that are the killers. I do not want to see another Poppy repeat that it's, the mayor's assistant, instead of Cinda's assistant, and it's just the same thing again. If that's the case, they need to start wrapping up this show as much as I love it. They can't keep recycling things.
No, I agree with you 100%. Like, that is the big problem. And that's why, for me, I'm much more interested in the idea that, okay, maybe the mayor did do all this to himself. Like, maybe his assistant is like a part of a cover up and is trying to keep it secret. But if they're going with the mayor did it route, I need for it to actually be the mayor so that we're
Agreed.
giving we're giving
Yeah.
Keegan-Michael some really good material here to actually have a little bit of fun with.
Absolutely. Yes. 100%. Please don't make it the assistant. This is going to be a very different video at the finale if it turns out that this is the assistant again.
Yeah, but I think what is interesting at this point in the season is thanks to this episode, we really have a tale of two different worlds. The
Yeah.
super wealthy, the people who are just trying to make a living day to day, and we're
Yes.
kind of seeing all of these conflicts, some of them subtle, some of them very, very in our face. I feel like no matter who the killer is, the responsible party or parties here, it's all tied to this theme somehow.
Absolutely.
But that is where we are coming out of Only Murders in the Building, Season 5, Episode 5. What do you guys think about this episode? Where are your theories lying right now? Let us know in the comments. And also, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you want to support us further, join our Patreon. That link is in the description. Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
support, and we'll see you here next time.